Welcome back to Everlasting Summer, part 42? We're on day 7, so the sprout's almost over. I'm surprised. It's actually taken longer. Well, then again, Elisa's route was short because we already knew half the text that was already in it, but yeah. Food is all you think about. Why bother crying? What will it change? She was right about that, at least. We just have to wait for the camp leader's decision. Let's just go. We headed to the canteen. All the camp had gathered for breakfast, except Olga and Slavia. It might be for the best, I guess. What are you thinking about? Ulyana asked me cheerfully when we took our food and sat. The same thing. Come on, stop worrying about nothing. Maybe it's nothing for you. Well, really, what was particularly bad about that? Every situation can be interpreted from different angles, and especially if you have a reason. Come on, what's the worst that can happen? You know, our camp leader, she's a bit eccentric. Well, maybe so, but we didn't do anything like that. Anything at all. I hope she believes that too. My relationship with Ulyana had improved dramatically lately. At first I only saw her as a naughty, ill-mannered child, but now I started to see the good sides of her character. Although there weren't too many. And now, just when everything was starting to work out, a hard conversation with the camp leader loomed ahead. Maybe I just dreamt everything that happened, and Slavia's reaction this morning was caused by surprise. Enjoying your meal? Olga was hanging over me. She looked at me menacingly. Yes. Do you mind explaining your behavior? Mind explaining what? Well, for example, how you happened to be in the Cybernetics Club utility room. Where did you get the key? What were you even doing there? I recalled the circumstances in which I obtained this cursed key. I should speak to Electronic about that. Oh yeah, no, that's right. I forgot. Electronic gave me a key. If Slavia told you our version... We were watching a film, Ulyana claimed seriously. The whole night? The camp leader asked sarcastically. Then I just fell asleep and Semyon stayed with me. And so, there was no chance for you to go to your cabins. Not even a tiny one. And what are you going to say? Well, it sounds really stupid, but she's right. You expect me to believe that? She's British. Well, it's the truth. I can't really accuse you of anything. The camp leader started slowly. But on the other hand, this entire situation is beyond normal. Pioneers must not behave this way. And there are too many inconsistencies in your story. We get it. I agreed fatalistically. Fatalistically? What? I will do the following. Ulyana, you're on detention. You will be confined to your cabin, and I will decide what to do with you later. I looked at Ulyana attentively. Contrary to my expectations, she didn't look upset. Clearly, I do not think this is your fault, but to be fair... Great, you know where to find me in case you need me. She stood up and instantly headed to the exit. She's not going to her room. Olga didn't try to stop her. There's always too much trouble with her, and she got you into all of this. I don't really get what she got me into, and you seem to be too harsh on her. Show me another pioneer like her. Wow, that's a big smile. I've never seen that from her. The camp leader laughed. When she receives detentions for misbehaving, that's another story. But here? Actually, I don't really understand what indeed was going on, but my duty is to look after your moral character, and this situation is suspicious. Highly suspicious. And how long are you going to keep her imprisoned? I don't know. Olga pondered for some time. Today's the departure. But in these circumstances... What departure? I jumped at the word. The term is ending today. This is the last day. What? It was the only response I could squeeze out. The last day, meaning I'll finally be able to leave this damn camp. Maybe it's time for my suffering to end, and I'll get back to my ordinary reality. But why so suddenly? Sudden for who? I talked about this at the lineup. She has a point. At the lineups, I was usually sleeping or looking around. I didn't really listen to the announcements. You weren't even there today. And at what time? About 5 o'clock. Don't forget to be ready. I hardly have anything to pack. She stood up, took a tray, and was going to leave. So what's going to happen to Ulyana? I don't know yet. I told you. She'll probably leave later. How's that? Not with everyone? Well, yes. Is that normal? I was truly surprised. What's wrong with it? I don't know about wrong, but it's quite strange for sure. Well, I still have work to do. I dug aimlessly at my porridge, which had gone cold long ago. Departure, the possibility of getting out of here. But on the other hand, Ulyana. I myself felt guilty before her. In the end, she was penalized while I, at the same time, wasn't. That's not fair. No, it's not like I wanted to share her misery, but I don't think that it's fair that she sits there locked up. Well, there's still some time before leaving. It should be quite enough time to make the situation clear. First, I decided to talk to Slavia. Hope she has calmed down. She's just jealous because you weren't doing it with her. I'd gotten used to finding Slavia at the square, so I went there without any doubts. Why exactly there? Because in this camp, I predominantly met her there. But there wasn't a single soul near Genda's haven. I stood there for a while, looking at the monument, then headed to the library. It makes sense that Xenia could know where her neighbor is right now. After knocking at the door, recalling my previous experience, this is not useless mannerism, I went in. Xenia distracted herself from her book and looked closely at me. What do you want? What's wrong? Why do you act like that? I can't even come in? What, you came here for no reason? I doubt you wanted to read something. Well, no. The classics of Marxist Leninism weren't my favorite literature. Wanted to know where Slavia is. Why do you want to know? She said that as if she was sure that the conversation is over, and thus she proceeded with her reading. Well, since I'm asking, clearly I need to know. Should be on the pier. Xenia answered indifferently. Thanks. Learning what I wanted to know, I hurried out of this stronghold of malice. Yes, Xenia has a tough spirit. At least I have issues understanding her. On the pier, some pioneers were pulling boats into docks while others were running around with oars or ropes. After looking closely, I noticed Slavia, who sat quite far away, near the water. Cleaning up? I asked the most neutral question that came to mind. Yep, she answered without turning. Listen, I want to talk about Ulyana? Well, yeah. Honestly speaking, I had no idea what to talk about. Slavia found us in the storage room, got it wrong, and told everything to the camp leader. Now it's not her concern anymore, if you think about it. On the other hand, it'd be a waste of time to talk to Olga now. Maybe I just subconsciously wanted to understand Slavia's reasoning, to be able to absolve her somehow. So, what did you want to say? Well, Ulyana got punished. Maybe she won't even leave with us. No wonder. I just wanted to explain to you that nothing special happened there. Frankly speaking, I don't know. I just had to report everything. So you did. Did you leave anyone better off? I mumbled to myself. Of course, I'm not sure that it was right, she said confusedly. Well, what's done is done. You think it's possible to get Ulyana freed from house arrest? You worry about her so much. It's almost as if he likes her. Slavia finally looked at me and smiled. Not about her, about justice and freedom and America. I mean, while I was a bit confused, I found the right answer. You didn't say anything. Well, you know our camp leader. I do, that's for sure. Just wait, she'll calm down eventually. Yes, I guess that was the best decision. Yeah, you're right. I stood near her in silence for some time. Slavia didn't seem eager to keep on talking. Still, there was some sense of incompleteness, but faced with the idea of this uncomfortable situation lasting for several hours, I decided not to be a burden. Okay, I'll go then. See you. She smiled. In the middle of the square, I stopped to think. There is still a lot of time till the departure, and I have nothing to do. Just yesterday, when it seemed like I was stuck here forever and had lots of time, even though there was actually very little, I felt a need to think and act faster. But now that I've got only 5 hours left till I leave this camp forever, I have not a slightest idea on how to spend them. I decided to visit Ulyana. After all, even if she isn't allowed to leave her cabin, that doesn't mean I cannot pay her a visit. I knocked gently. "You're not welcome here." An angry voice sounded from behind the door. I pulled on the door handle and entered. "Hail, prisoner." "Oh, it's you," Ulyana said disappointedly. "And what, am I the only one who isn't welcome here?" I tried to smile. "Why did you come?" "Well, I thought that you'd be bored here all alone." "I'm fine." "Where's Elisa?" "As you can see, not here." "Come on, why are you so angry? In the morning you were in a much better mood." "Angry? Me?" "Not me, that's for sure." "You have nothing else to do, so you came here, right?" "Yeah, my bad." I sighed theatrically and hung my head. "Well, sit down then." I sat on the opposite bed. "So, tell me something. Let's come up with a way to prove to Olga that we did nothing wrong." "I did nothing wrong," Ulyana corrected me. "You seem to have nothing to do with it." "Okay, let it be. But why?" A tricky question, especially since that makes no sense to ask. "Feels like we've swapped our roles. I was suggesting a stupid plan while she was a voice of reason." "Well, because we did nothing wrong." "What's the matter with you anyhow? I'll just stay grounded for a couple of hours and that's it. We have to depart soon anyway." She flopped down on the bed and stared at the ceiling. "Well, sure, but..." I tried hard to cheer her up, but it looks like I haven't succeeded so far. "Want to do something, maybe?" "Do something. It's lunchtime already." I took a glance at my watch. "Yeah, right. Here's a job for you. Since I mustn't go out, go and bring me something to eat." "Sir, yes, sir." I saluted her and hurried out of her cabin. Recently, I'd started to think that finally something has clicked in Ulyana's mind. Maybe the punishment had an effect on her, or possibly it was something else. And my attitude towards her has changed. Her wrongdoings used to make me feel nothing but irritation, but now there was also understanding and a sort of sympathy. After all, I used to be a child too. Perhaps if one explained to her what is right and what is not, she might be able to avoid many mistakes. In the canteen, I had an argument with the cook who refused to give me a double serving. However, everyone in the camp already knew about Ulyana being grounded, so eventually my powers of persuasion won out over dietary standards. Soon I was sitting at Ulyana's cabin, tucking away meatballs with potatoes. Just like last meal. "What are you talking about?" "Well, every death row prisoner has a right to make a last wish." Thus, my last wish was a lunch like this. To my surprise, the food was really delicious. "What would your wish be?" "Well, to not be executed, of course." She laughed. "You can't." "Why? If you can wish for anything." "Well, you can, but within certain limits." "That means it's not anything." "Well, okay then, it's not anything." "Then that's not interesting." "Well, I believe being a death row prisoner is hardly meant to be interesting in the first place." I grinned through my teeth. I wouldn't know. I never went through that experience. But if you think about it, that's almost my situation. This camp is my cell. For several more hours I'll stay under arrest and then I'll face uncertainty, just like I would after death. The only difference is that I had more options. If I wanted to attend lineup, then I do so. If not, then I didn't. "What are you going to do next?" "What do you mean?" "Well, after the camp." She looked at me in surprise. "Back to school, of course." "Yes, only for me, leaving this place is kind of like crossing a barrier. A frontier, the end of something and the beginning of something else." A week ago, it was terribly hard for me to realize that I'd been pulled out of my usual world and brought to God knows where. But then I got used to it. And here we go again. Basically, the only difference now is that now I face not a sense of fear and horror, but a blunt, sinking feeling of uncertainty. And you? Well, I'll find something to do. Something? She burst into peals of laughter. Yeah, what's the matter? Should have gone to a circus school to be a clown. Why? One can't help but laughing when looking at you. But why? Bitch. You always act like some kind of martyr, a new messiah for all the Russians. Well, there was quite a bit of truth in her words. I have my reasons. I mumbled and turned to face the window. What reasons? Various. Why are you so curious? Have you forgotten that I'm a child? She grinned archly. Well, half an hour with you is like a terrible torture for me. Look at who's talking. You're just one really nasty-tempered person. What makes you think so? You're always deep and soul-searching, trying to find out something, analyze everyone around you. I gave Ulyana an amazed look. I would never have expected such a little girl to be capable of such mature judgment. And? That's it. At the very least, I know how to behave myself, and I don't end up grounded. It's a matter of chance. She grinned. Yeah, sure. If last night... She stopped short. Last night what? Nothing. No, finish what you started. She just opened her mouth when steps were heard behind the door, and a second later Olga entered the room. Ah, there you are. That's even better. She seemed confused and lost for words. Well, I reconsidered this morning's incident. It's not like it became much clearer, but it doesn't look like a big deal. So, Ulyana, you're officially not grounded anymore. If only you did that right from the start, I muttered. Did you say something? No, nothing. Departure is coming. Time to pack your stuff. Saying that, she left the cabin. Now you see how it all turned out. Yeah, I sighed. Are you going to pack? Yeah, I guess so. And you? It's not like I've got much to pack. Indeed, it was the truth. Care to help me then? Okay, sure, why not? She started to pull her clothes out of the cabinets and stack them on her bed. Watch it, you'll mess everything up. It's okay, I'll wash them at home. T-shirts, skirts, shorts, dresses, shoes, trainers, underwear. The pile of clothes was growing and growing. You really brought all this stuff here all on your own? Considering Ulyana's constitution, it was hard to believe. Constitution? Yes, of course. She laughed. Come on, give me a hand. We started to pack up the clothes into a big bag. I tried to pack things carefully at first, but after realizing that it's pointless, I resorted to just stuffing everything in it to make it all fit. At last, there were no more clothes on the bed, and we even somehow managed to zip up the bag. So that's it. Yeah. I looked at the clock. It was about 40 minutes till the departure time. You know, whoa. That is not the look I was expecting from this sentence. You know, it was fun. Meaning? Well, the last week was fun. Ah, yeah. I said absent-mindedly. Don't you think so? Why? It sounded sort of insincere to me. Well, I must admit that I'm not exactly walking on air, yeah. But what didn't you like? It's not like I can spit out everything at once. You see, a few moments were, how can I put it, a little unexpected. Blah, you're so boring, said Ulyana and turned away from me. Well, what did you expect from me? You sound like you got absolutely nothing to remember later. Ah. Yeah, there sure is plenty to remember. I gleamed. Yep, that's what I'm saying. She looked closely at me. That made me a bit uncomfortable. What now? And me? Will you remember me? Sure I will. Everyone. And you most of all. I saluted, springing up to attention with my hand over my heart. That's better. However, do I really have something to remember about her? Yeah, we had lots of adventures, but who is Ulyana for me? Just a nosy kid from another reality. On second thoughts, do I really care that much about my situation now? From the very first moment I appeared here, everything changed tremendously. So now I was just as curious what's going to happen next. Sure, the unknown is not the most pleasant perspective, but I must admit that it's a breathtaking one. Can't speak. Don't record at 5 a.m. Whether I will return to my world or not is not up to me anymore. It means that I don't really have any choice. I have to adapt to the local living conditions. And one of these conditions was sitting right in front of me, smiling broadly. You know, you're not as silly as I first thought. Why do you think I'm silly in the first place? She said in an offended tone. Just kidding. You and your jokes. Alright, it's time. Let's go. Ulyana said happily and pointed at the bag. Yeah. I shouldered her belongings. The weight almost made me bend in half. I was thankful for the fact that the bus stop was just a few hundred meters away. I shoved her stuff onto the bus and then hurried to get my own humble luggage. After some time, all the pioneers were here. Everyone's here? Began Olga. You're leaving our camp today, and I'd like to tell you all something in parting. She was visibly nervous and desperately lost for words. I hope that you'll remember the time you've spent here for a lifetime, and that you'll retain only pleasant memories about Semyon. I also hope that you became at least a little bit better, managed to learn something, and found new friends. Just come back next year. The camp leader turned away. Seemed she was trying to hold back her tears. I wasn't expecting her to get so emotional, but I completely agreed with everything she said. Perhaps it was the first time that her words haven't just passed by my ears. I don't recognize a single person on this bus. I just realized that. Soon enough, everyone boarded the bus. I took the last seat, next to Ulyana. The first row was taken by Slavia and Xenia. Really? Then a little closer to us, Lena, Miku, Electronic, and Shurik were playing cards. Elisa slouched in her seat alone 2 rows from us. There was no partner for her. Aww. Turned out a bit embarrassing for your neighbor. It's fine. You helped me to get ready and brought my stuff here. I looked at her closely. Seems this little demon had changed her attitude towards me in a radical way. Could it be that I'm a friend to her? Semyon. No. An odd word that seemed to have lost its meaning for me ages ago. I can't recall any of my acquaintances, when I still had them, who I could call friends. Maybe even back when I was at school. And now someone considers me a friend? Anyway, what does it all mean to me? I always felt more comfortable thinking about abstract stuff, distant perspectives, and global matters more than of simple, ordinary issues. And indeed, during all the time I spent in this camp, I managed to become close friends with Ulyana. She awakened these long-forgotten feelings in me, because this is what it means to be buddies or friends. I smiled and tousled her hair gently. What's that for? She puffed her lips. Just because. Pervert. Will you marry me when I grow up? Sure. I'll hold you to that. Okie dokie. Let's go join them at a cards. Why not? Aww. We gathered around the suitcase that was being used as a table. Soon, Elisa joined us. I was laughing a lot, cracking jokes, and just enjoying being in a state one usually calls happiness. A simple happiness, here and now. Right now, this bunch of pioneers that I've managed to befriend in this short week were 1,000,000 times more important to me than finding out how I came to this world and how to get out of here. In the end, should I even bother trying to get back? Man, Elisa's really changed her hairstyle. It was getting dark. The game was long over, and the pioneers had returned to their seats. I had no idea how long it would take to get to the district center, but it seemed like an eternity. From beyond the bus windows, only pitch darkness was looking back at me, almost consuming the entire world, compressing to only the size of the Icarus cabin. Anyway, the surroundings were the least of my concerns now. I was enjoying the moment. It seems that this reality is completely normal. And does it really matter how I got here if things turn out this great? I became another person and met new friends. What are you thinking about life? How's it going? Just awesome. Ulyana laughed quietly. I don't have a place to return to, so I can choose any life path I want. Yes, we will part ways soon, and I will probably never see most of them again, but we will stay friends forever. A pleasant warmth flowed through my body. I felt like a kid again. Ulyana put her head on my shoulder and quickly fell asleep. Sometimes you may feel tired, not only because of how hard work or sad feelings, but also because of because of hard work or sad feelings, but also because of fun, joy, and happiness. You may probably even want to continue. You may probably even want to continue, but have no energy to, with your soul demanding time to rest and your body asking for calm. I fell asleep with a smile on my face. Final day. I might end it at 30 minutes anyways. It felt like I hadn't slept at all. It happens all the time. You just close your eyes and fall asleep. The hour hand makes several turns, the morning comes and you wake up, but it feels like you just blinked. I yawned so wide that I almost broke my jaw and jumped up because of the pain. Something was wrong. Or not something. Everything was wrong. I was back in my apartment. But how can that be possible? I began to panic, and I started to run around my room in the hope of calming myself down. Physical tiredness can often overcome an emotional one. My head was empty. I just imagined someone like, "Where am I? Run, 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 run." My head was empty. Fear and terror took over my whole being, and some kind of song was floating in my mind. Maybe a prayer, or maybe just an incoherent jumble of thoughts designed, if not to calm me down, then at least to distract me from my panic. It was about half an hour before I collapsed on the floor, exhausted, and fixed my eyes on the ceiling. It seems like I had not gone anywhere. The old chandelier looked down at me unkindly with its dusty lamps. The cracks in the plaster were in the same places, and the unstuck wallpaper hadn't slipped down even a little. Was it really a dream? But it can't be. It just can't be. I spent an entire week in that pioneer camp. I was definitely there. I remember everything perfectly, from my awakening aboard the bus right up to the departure. Neither dreams nor hallucinations can be that real. Somehow I stood up, went to the kitchen, filled a glass with water, and returned to the room. The blood was still hammering in my temples, but at least the terror of the first few minutes was gone. Or had just taken a break. I concentrated on the last thing I remember. It was the departure from the camp. The night, the bus bouncing over the bumps, the dirty, murky glass beyond which almost nothing was visible, and the pioneers. I'd been absolutely positive that I would never return. Or just didn't think about it. Anyway, I was prepared for our arrival at the district center in a few hours and was already considering options for my further actions. Or not. Damn it. I roared and pulled on my... Don't yell, you're in an apartment. It's like the middle of the night. I roared and pulled on my hair with all my strength. I can't remember. The last hours in that world merged into a monotonous mirage, as if a drunken Renoir was completing his... Oh, it's a painter that I'm not familiar with. Was completing his painting with a roller instead of a brush. But it's not that bad. Wait a minute. Why would it be bad? On the contrary, everything's fine. I would even say perfect. I've broken free from that goddamn world and returned home. The most important thing now is to not end up there again. Might happen. Surely it could. But it might not happen as well. Just crazy guy talking to himself in his apartment. Indeed, I have nothing to worry about now. Everything will be fine. Obviously, I was just seeing things. Exactly, I was seeing things. LSD, man, it's one hell of a drug. It doesn't matter that everything felt that real. Something like that just can't happen. It can't. I claim with all due confidence that it just can't. Modern science claims it's impossible. Not allowed. I laughed loudly. An inner voice tried to stop the verbal diarrhea spouting from my mouth, but it didn't succeed. Feels like my speech and thoughts are separating to exist on their own, independent from each other. My brain prompted me to calm down and try to analyze the situation, while my tongue simply tried to ease the stress by throwing new meaningless words out into the air. Finally, I was somehow able to pull myself together. I pulled the curtains open and looked out the window. The night city looked exactly the same as it did a week ago. The view brought my mind back to reality, at least to some extent. After all, if everything is now normal and nothing suspicious or supernatural is happening, then wasn't it just a dream? Essentially, there were only two options now. I can agree that it was just a dream and calm down, or I can trust my own feelings and accept that the camp, the bus, and the pioneers were real. Either way, whatever I choose, I won't get any answers. It's funny, I was looking for these answers for a whole week, or at least pretending to, and found nothing, but I broke free from that weird world anyway. And what now? The enigma remains, and additional questions have surfaced. In the end, I was exhausted and fell onto the bed. In a few seconds, I was snoring blissfully. Much time has passed from the moment I came back from Semyon, and a lot has changed in my life. The first week, I was racking my brain, trying to summarize in detail everything that had happened, creating graphs and diagrams, writing to forums discussing paranormal phenomena. I even planned to visit a psychic. In the end, it resulted in nothing, just as one would expect. It's no wonder. I was just a human being, but these events obviously were the affair of a supreme mind. If a caveman found himself in the early 21st century, even he would understand more than me. Well, at first he would think that a cell phone that transmits someone's speech dozens of kilometers away by the will of God is a miracle. But one can get used to it. Maybe if he completed secondary and higher technical education, he would even be able to understand how mobile communications work. It's a basic, exaggerated simple, just as unreal as everything I experienced. I'm unlikely to ever understand how it worked or who was behind it, and I doubt that I could get used to it if it were to happen again. But one question troubled me ever since. Why? Why me? What did I, or did I not, do to deserve this bad or good luck? Sure, in sci-fi novels, wonders often occur to quite ordinary people, but that was just a matter of chance. But I was absolutely positive that these events have occurred for some reason, just like a random sci-fi hero who traveled 1,000 years forward in time, leaving him in the wrong time and place. But in the future, no one knew him. Everyone thought that he was just a madman. But in my situation, they were expecting me at the camp. At least the camp leader was. How should I respond to that? Maybe I was picked out at random to be studied later on. Even so, the question why not only still stands, but rather becomes even more important. After not finding any sufficient explanation, I returned to my usual existence. But now I wasn't just sitting at the computer 24/7, wiping the F5 button free of dust. New interests came into my life, but what they were I couldn't tell myself, and suddenly I wanted to get a high education. I mean a higher, don't get a high education. Not to find a job, and not because it's necessary, but just because I remembered how much fun I'd had during the first year of education. Chatting with classmates, not course mates, who says course mates? Days of light-hearted, youthful fun, plenty of the energy that I'd lacked so much over the last few years. A truly great man once said, "Any man who reads too much and uses his own brain too little falls into lazy habits of thinking." It's hard to argue with that logic. An ordinary man will not sit around because he is lazy, but because a given subject is just of no interest to him. For instance, I'm not interested in knitting, so does it mean that I'm a slacker if I don't make a couple of woolen sweaters per month? But feeling too lazy to open a book, that's something I can understand. Although I like reading, when I start thinking that I have to get through a huge novel, page by page. And even if it is interesting, even if it absorbs me so completely that I can't turn away, that part will only come later. For now, all I need is to get a book from a shelf and open it, but I feel too lazy. I don't know what exactly influenced me, but about half of my time, most of the 5 to 10% of it from before, I was occupied with something useful. I read, wrote, studied something new, and engaged in sports. At least I exercised in the morning. Sometimes I thought that it was the influence of the camp. One can't rule out that possibility. For all 7 days there, I was participating in social activities, verbal communications with others, in amounts that before would have caused terror and severe introversion in me. On the other hand, it's not so easy to change one's personality in a single week, especially for someone as stubborn as me. But it is easy to point them in a new direction, show them a guiding line. However, I'd never believed that it would be possible with me. Anyway, I enjoyed these changes so much that I tried not to think about their causes. What the hell? Nobody would worry about the why if he managed to hit the jackpot by getting his last pair of trousers. In summer, I re-enrolled at the university in studies, and studies started in autumn. That makes sense. Time passed. I eagerly attended lectures and seminars and studied for tests and examinations with a level of enthusiasm that I wouldn't have expected from myself. I managed to become part of the group and with surprising ease, although I was older than most students, it didn't trouble me. Maybe it's because of my natural immaturity or changes in my personality. I don't know for sure. Most likely the answer is somewhere in the middle. The joy of communicating with people, lost many years ago, returned. It was easy to get along with others. Their problems didn't seem so distant and trivial to me. Normal life, which before I had considered just a gray, depressing mass, started to shine with new colors. Sometimes it seemed to me that I'd turned into a doll, become one of a billion identical tin soldiers. A billion? There's a bit more than just a billion people here. Tin soldiers standing in straight rows on a shelf in a toy shop. But in the shop, apart from the glowing showcase that sparkled with fancy writing describing new season's offers and Christmas discounts, was a storage where all the defective products were thrown. A teddy bear without a paw, a firefighter's truck in need of a mechanic, a transformer who looked more like a microwave than a mighty robot, jigsaw puzzles which assembled into trippy postmodernist pictures. My place used to be among those broken toys. And while some of them could take refuge in charity drives or an orphanage, my only fate was being dumped and recycled again. So I couldn't help enjoying such changes in my life. It was the last lesson of the hardest subject this term. Most students didn't like it, because of its difficulty and the hard-to-understand teacher, I suppose. But I found a kind of pleasure in dealing with tables, graphs, and diagrams. Counting the figures by pieces, I arranged them in columns and lines in the right order, summing up, subtracting, dividing, multiplying, and using them to get a precise picture of any event. No number could avoid my attentive gaze. All of them would be captured, calculated, analyzed. Each of them would be given an index number and a place in their proper cell. After its arrival, every digit will be assigned a bunk, work uniform, and off-duty clothes, and will be sent to perform its designated task. Some will be digging a trench from 9 to 5, some will march off to face the trends, and some will be trying to hit a linear regression on the shooting range. What are you thinking about? Reluctantly, I stopped writing and gazed at my classmate. Taking notes on the lecture, as you can see. Oh, just screw it. Just read the workbook afterwards. I'll read the workbook as well. I'm always astonished by you. What's so astonishing? You're planning to gain a first-class diploma, aren't you? Never thought of it. Don't tell me you really find it interesting. I remember that just a moment ago I'd imagined myself emblazoned on a banner borne aloft by a regiment of digits and couldn't help smiling. You won't even need all this stuff. Everything will be needed. At least for general development. The classmate grinned sarcastically. Bet you never even read a single book in your whole life. So what? He asked challengingly. Well, I was kind of giving it like a female voice just in case. Just stating a fact. You're always somewhere up in the clouds. He was right about that. Although I'd regained part of my lost social skills, I often slipped out of touch with reality, dreaming of something else. You say it like it's a bad thing. Just realize how tiny this chalkboard is. And there's nothing wrong with not reading books either. Human beings can't have only material needs. I said philosophically, mocking him. Oh, you're such a downer. Yawn. Can't tell if being a dick or just sarcastic. The lecture was approaching its end, and I began to plan out the rest of the day. I need to buy some groceries and later finish a project and send it to the client. Then I got to write down notes. And then in the evening, I can just read or watch something. Unless someone phones or writes to me. There are no urgent matters, so I can spare some time for my mates. Oh, 5 whole minutes to go. I looked at my phone and realized that it is exactly a year after I returned from the Semyon pioneer camp. My soul felt warmer from such thoughts, and I smiled blissfully. It's not often anymore that I recall these events. Obviously, one can't just forget something like that. Those moments of something bizarre and extraordinary that are engraved in my memory forever. Normally, even the happiest moments fade and just reminiscences. Yeah, okay, I said that right. Of them remain. Nothing more. But the week spent in Semyon was different. I remembered everything in perfect detail. The terror of the first minutes after waking up in the bus. The first day, hard, full of surprises and amazing acquaintances. Cheerful and carefree pranks with Ulyana. Just take that trick with the ghosts, for instance. The best Soviet comedians would envy it. And the pioneers had such expressions. They were dying laughing. It sure would be nice to meet Ulyana in real life. Well, she's not always perfect. She's hyperactive, and she doesn't have any idea about good manners, but one doesn't meet such a sincere, carelessly cheerful, and energetic person very often. Maybe she gave some of that energy to me. The bell rang, my classmate stood up, said his goodbyes, and left. I started packing my exercise books and textbooks into my backpack when I suddenly heard someone's voice in front of me. Excuse me, is this the 34th lecture hall? There's a sign on the door. No, there's not. The girl's voice sounded offended. Someone must have removed it. So, is this the 34th? Yeah. At last I closed the backpack and raised my head, intending to stand up. The girl looked terribly familiar. Gee, I wonder where I've seen that haircut before. Have we? Yes, I thought the same. She looked very surprised. I don't remember where I could have met you. Neither do I. What year are you in? First year. Oh, still pretty much green. The girl smiled. Everything's still ahead of me. As if I'm already past everything. And what about you? Fourth. So it's difficult to study. Is it difficult to study? For the first year it is. I knew it, she said in an upset manner. But it gets easier with time. It's always easier when you get used to it. Sometimes I'm too lazy to do things. Yeah, that also happens. Do you still have any stuff from the first year? If you share, it'll be easier for me to prepare for examinations. Obviously I had nothing. My first year was finished a long time ago. But I suddenly felt a strong desire to ask for her phone number, so I lied. Yeah, maybe. But I'll have to check. It's great. We exchanged our telephone numbers. My name's Semyon. What should I call you? Ulyana. And then I realized who this girl reminded me of. Exactly, she's Ulyana, just around 5 years older. So, 19. Legal. For a moment, I was lost for words. What? It's an ordinary name. That was Lenin's name, she said, pouting. No, just... Have you ever been to a pioneer camp? When I was a kid. Why are you asking? In the blink of an eye, all the events that happened in Semyon flashed in front of my eyes. So it wasn't a dream. Although they were just summer camps, not pioneer ones. Ulyana added. So you weren't wearing a uniform? The one with the red neckerchief? Of course not. Fashion police alert. She laughed loudly. But why are you asking? I was about to tell her everything, but then realized that she will just consider me a psycho. After all, this girl was much older than the Ulyana I remembered. Yeah, like 5 years older. Like you just said. Maybe she just looks like her. I had a dream, and I think I saw you there. A kind of deja vu. Deja what? It's when one sees something for the first time but believes they've seen it before. Well, now that you mention it, her face became serious. I think I've seen you somewhere as well. Definitely. Maybe it's that thing you just said. An interesting coincidence, don't you think? I don't know. Anyway, I'll give you a call. See ya. She laughed and ran out of the room. Appearance, behavior, way of talking. She's definitely that exact Ulyana. So does this mean the dream is coming true? I can't help but enjoy it. And above all, I'll see this forever cheerful girl again for sure. Beginning and end? Yeah! Attack on Pedo Bear. Wait, what? Ulyana, good end. Okay. That's an interesting achievement. Every story has its beginning and its end. Every story has its own outline, synopsis, contents, key points, a prologue, and an epilogue. And there is no book which, if you read it again, would not reveal new details you didn't notice before. Every story has its beginning and its end. Almost every. So that was Ulyana's route. Yeah, I decided to let it keep going, because that would have been like a 15-minute episode. I probably would have, if I didn't keep going, I probably would have just uploaded it on like Sunday or something. It was pretty cool. It's like the first route where you don't sleep with one of the girls, so... Though you get lots of shots like this, so... Meh. It's a cool route. I liked it. I was curious to try and figure out her age. That's the main reason I wanted to do this route. Looking at the guide, it says Semyon's route is next. I think I'll do that like tomorrow or something, and if it's actually a route you can do, it looks like it's a very short one, so if it is a route you can do, I'll probably just upload it Sunday. But if not, then Monday is Miku's route. At least, well, Monday is Miku's route for sure. That is the last route of the normal girls you have to do, and then the final one is Yulia's route, the Neko, so... And then we'll finally finish this game once and for all. There's DLC, which I've said before, I'll probably come to again. I'll probably come to this game again later on, and finish the DLC, which is Xenia's route, I believe. It's just free DLC, it comes with the game anyways, so... But I have to like activate it or something like that, so in the menu. Like, let's see, it's gonna take us back to the main menu in a second. Yeah. So if I go to settings, I think, yeah, One Pioneer's Story. Oh, that begins it. No. No. Don't start doing things. I wanted to see, show game, I want to see achievements is what I'm trying to do. Which, the owl? Yes. Pickup Guru. Where's Attack on Pedo Bear? Why is it Attack on Pedo Bear? Shift tab. Ulyana, good end. That's all it says. Alright. Well, I'll leave it. Comfy guy? What's comfy guy? Savia, good. Ah. I think these are just all the bad routes. I don't know what these two are. Maybe Miku? Like, probably like Savia, good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, good, bad. And then there's 3 more? There's 5 more that I don't have, but I don't have Miku, so this is probably like Miku, or one of these are down here is Miku. Or maybe these. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it here, obviously. I mean, but what? I'm gonna end it here. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.